So I have these pieces of wood as well that I've just opened, and these are going to be the battens on the inside. Now the boat already has some battens. It has battens buried in the foam, and these are the same battens that we use to fix the wiring loom to, except for these parts which are clips. But along the side we use the battens and those saddles and cable ties. But these battens are going to be the ones that fit on top of those battens. So I guess there's a couple of options. But he's having a drink. So there's a couple of options. What people often do is have the original battens, or have some battens in, fixed to the hull, and then spray foamed over, and then they clear off the batten, and then they put the planking or the the kind of the interior surface on those battens. But I'm not going to do that because and I think I might have mentioned this a little while ago, that the battens are actually screwed to the steel hull, and then the spray foam is sprayed on top of it. So actually the batten is a piece of wood on the steel, so that's actually, it can transmit a bit of cold and heat quite well. So if I was to put the interior surface, or interior planks should we say, the planking or the cladding, then a batten, and then the hull, then that's quite a transmissible, transmissible for cold or heat, so it'll let heat out and let cold in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an extra batten on top. So this batten will be screwed to that. Now that hasn't solved the problem yet, because this batten so it's wood, and then steel. But the next thing I'm going to do, I'll grab another batten. So the next thing I'm going to do after that is put a third batten up, like this. So the original batten is going to be here, and that's going to be fixed there. And then the second batten is going to be fixed to the third, or the third batten is going to be fixed to the second. And above that there is a bit of space. And within that space I can put some more insulation. So the kind of transmission will come from the hull to a piece of wood, to another piece of wood, to insulation, to the cladding inside. And these two battens will be wood, insulation, and then steel. So there's no direct path for heat to escape or cold to come in. And that's really why these battens are so thin. They're much thinner than battens you would usually use on hull, and actually the battens that are in here are probably like 2 centimeters by 4 centimeters. They're big chunky pieces of wood, much chunkier than this. But if I use those again, so if I put the same again, then it will be smaller and smaller, and actually this ceiling will end up quite low, and I don't want it to be quite low. The other kind of slightly weird thing is when they fit the window frames on the aft section of the cabin, the window frames, the windows themselves, actually go up higher than the interior cladding. So I guess they probably measured them for the steel hull, so they fitted them perfectly for the steel hull and then the windows, and then the insulation actually brings it lower. So previously the cladding finished, and then it was kind of finished off, and there was a small board which hid the curtain track, and that actually overlapped the windows slightly. So I'm going to do that again, and I think that should be okay. So I did say a little while ago as well that I had this kind of plan in some future time to replace these back windows with a stained glass window or something like that. That's just something that I might do one day, but I think a lovely kind of stained glass thing would be beautiful. But as it is now, it's really lovely. And actually, it's one of the things that I really loved about this boat. I fell in love with this aft window. It just lets in so much light, and it's so sort of, you can see so much out of it. It's beautiful. And with the sofa here, you can just you know, kind of cozy up in the corner and look out of the huge window and see everything that's going on. So, and it's also good for Bertie. He can jump up and look out the window as well. You can't look out the window right now because there's no way of getting up. And I've also got the privacy film on there as well. But yeah, so we'll be able to anyway. So I've cut a few grooves out of here, but in order to get them in a line, it doesn't so much matter if they're all, you know, kind of perfectly kind of along the line of the boat, and in fact actually that curves anyway, but they need to be in line with a piece of wood. So what I've done is I've used a spray can, laying the piece of wood on here, and I've just kind of dotted them with orange paint. So it means I just need to cut those sections out. Right, well that took ages, but I've got my first batten in anyway. So let me show you. There you go. So it actually took the longest amount of time to clear the foam. I didn't want to cut too deep into it because I don't want to go back to the metal. I don't want to pull it off the metal. But it does need to be cleared between the battens so that this batten is straight. And also so I can screw the batten hard up against the other batten. So if it's pushing against foam, then in time the foam will compress and then the batten will be loose. So it needs to be hard against the wood, which it is now. So that's solid. So yeah, so I think my plan now, because this is quite accessible area, I'm going to run the battens all the way over the top here. And then I'm going to start putting the battening this way as well. And then I've got like a kind of proof of concept. And then I'll just move through the boat. But it's going to take a while. So you and me are going to be doing some battening for some time to come. But that's good because it's actually proper jobs moving us forward. So when we get the battening done, we can then start to put the internal walls in, and then it's all going to start to look pretty good. So also you'll be able to see that the battens are actually recessed into the foam now as well. So you see if I hold the camera quite high up, the foam is actually above the battens. So again, all I need to do is remove enough to fit the batten. So the next battens will be going along the top of here. So I'll actually need to do a tiny little bit, but not much at all. But I'm leaving every single piece of foam that I can. And actually there's lots of the kind of pieces of foam, lots of the offcuts and bigger ones I'm just going to jam in spaces as well, because that saves a bit of the insulation, saves putting it in the bin. So yeah, so I'm going to crack on, but let's have a check of the list. So the checklist this week is I need to check the engine coolant again. I need to measure for the stud work, and so we'll do that. Cut the window frame pieces, that'll be tomorrow, and test the battens. So test the battens, actually we have tested those and they work really well. So I think they're the right job. And I also need to check the diesel as well. And also fill the diesel. So just getting ready to go up river if the call comes. So yeah, let's crack on with more battens and I'll stop rambling. So it's been rather productive actually since I've started doing these battens. So I've got two of the battens in here, and they're nice and solid. And I've got one on the other side on here now. So I've marked the positions for the next. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then these two. So I've also counted down the boat. So I'm going to have 7 battens across, and there's 7 battens length, which is quite nice. So the yard have put the first fit battens on, the perfect length for these pieces of wood, absolutely spot on. You know, the yard again doing the best work. Anyway, so I've got 7 by 7, so 7, 49, I think 49, something 49 battens to go this way. Then I'm going to start doing the battens the other way, and I might see if I can get something slightly longer, because otherwise I'm going to have to do them in 2 pieces, which is okay, but I'd much rather have single pieces to get that nice kind of curve in. Then I can start running the cladding that way, and well, cut the holes for the light fittings and run the cladding down and stuff. So yeah, I feel really good about this actually, because I was in a bit of a funk. You know, what do I do now? What do I work on? And I've got the window frame project running. I need to cut that wood tomorrow. But this has been really, really positive work. And the good thing about doing this is that it doesn't, now I've got the system, it doesn't actually take long to do one batten. So I can just do, like, you know, as many as I can each evening, you know, finish work, do some battening, and then have my tea. So yeah, so that's good. But I'm gonna have a tidy up now, and then I'm gonna go and walk 30 and then have my tea. So yeah, that's it for today, and we'll get on with it again tomorrow. So yeah, this weekend is the head of the river race, which is a really big rowing race, which has been happening since 1925. So yeah, the river's been closed for a couple of days. It's an against the clock race, so they race down to Battening, and yeah, so fastest wins. But the river yesterday especially was absolutely full of eights. It was incredible, and today it's busy now. So yeah. Although to be fair, there's lots of shouting as well. Love water and shouting. Why not be a rowing marshal? Oh, right, well, thanks to my neighbour, I now have this big chunk of sapele in 4 chunks, and the grain is lovely in there. Gorgeous. We did start wearing masks partway through. The reason why we weren't wearing masks at the beginning was, totally honestly, we kind of forgot, but also the wind was blowing the sawdust all away from us, and as soon as it stopped, we put our masks on. But yeah, good job. So I've got one thing to show you before I go, and it is literally just arrived. It's been handed to me right outside, and it is this. So thank you to everybody who's bought me a coffee using the link down below. You have all clubbed together, and we now have this amazing ensign to fly on the stern of the boat. I want to order a flagstaff as well, but they're out of stock of those at the moment. But as soon as I've got that, then this can fly on the back of the boat. So yeah, it's amazing. And there's one other thing that I treated myself to. I couldn't resist really, and it is this. Perfect. So thanks again for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I love reading your comments, and I'll see you again next week.